Episode 8 of TW 2020's TNA 2010 save brings us to Las Vegas. Against all odds, main evented by AJ Styles vs Samoa Joe, full Metal Mayhem for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, for only 2 minutes into the save, it doesn't get much bigger than this. This is the second wrestling war. Let's get into the show. 1,000 people in Coxford Pavilion in Las Vegas here today. And we're just on the pre-show. And we've got a tag team showcase match of tag teams from all over the world. Generation Me, representing TNA. The Briscoes and the Briscoes representing Ring of Honor. The Golden Lovers representing DDT. And the Kings of Wrestling representing Pro Wrestling Noah. And it is the Kings of Wrestling who pick up the win in an elimination match, with the Lovers out first, which is a little bit sad. Briscoe second, and Generation Me the last team out. This is basically a 63 rating for a pre-show undercard tag team match. Tells us that we've got a lot of promise in our tag team division. There's so many more teams that I am interested in bringing in. I want to bring in the Wolves at some point, because they obviously had a big TNA run. And I want this tag division to feel like it is the best tag team in the scissor division in the world. I want us to be the best company in the world. I want every division to be the best in the world. And we've got Shannon Moore taking on Shark Boy in basically a preliminary X Division match. Shannon Moore obviously faced for the X Division, fought for the X Division title at Genesis, so just gone lower down the card now that he lost that match. Shark Boy is always a fun character to have around, but probably isn't going to be main event. But Shannon Moore picking up the win in 11 minutes 03 with the corkscrew. Santon gets a 41, which honestly almost showcases just how good that opening tag team match was. For quite unpop, people who were that with very little pop across the board. But 41 is a great rating. What's next? Next up we go to Lethal Consequences versus the British Invasion, which gets a 54. And oh my god, we have got 4 brilliant tag teams on our hands with that opening match, if that's getting a 63. And the former tag champs in British Invasion, who were tag champs as of a month ago, are only pulling out a 54 match with another top tag team. And I'm sorry about, hold on, give me 1 second. Should have had Do Not Disturb on, because amateur here. But Lethal Consequences pick up the win when Consequences Creed pins Brutus Magnus with the TKO, and it is Doug Williams who is the best in this match, as you'd expect. He'd probably fit in brilliantly with that opening match. If we ever get to the point where Doug Williams and Desmond Wolfe are the tag team in British Invasion, they could absolutely go toe to leather with all of the other guys that were in that opener. A 54 though is a pretty good match for, again, undercard tag teams. Which I believe this is our last pre-show match, but let me just double check. And it was our last pre-show match, as we now get introduced to our commentary team for tonight. And pretty much from now on, it's Mike Tenay, Taz, and Mick Foley. They pretty much welcome everyone to Las Vegas, running through the card for tonight. There's some big matches and I'm looking forward to them. But the main event is what everyone's here for. Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles. Full Metal Mayhem. It doesn't get much bigger than this. 71 though is a great opening segment. Let's move on with the show. First type package for our opening match is a storyline which has got quite a bit of history to it, even if it's only recently kicked off. In this save, Frankie Kazarian versus Christopher Daniels. Of course, Kazarian cost Daniels his chance at the X Division title on the Impact Championship special a couple of weeks ago, which led to this match here. We're opening because I genuinely believe that these two are the perfect people to open a pay-per-view. Although maybe I'm kind of wishing I'd put that Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match here. Now, but let's see, how do Frankie Kazarian versus Daniels? How do they do? It's a 57 rating, 58 for Daniels, 53 for Kazarian, and Daniels picks up the victory in 11 minutes and 12 seconds with a handful of tights. Well, it's a heelish way to win. Daniels is obviously probably the person I think has got more potential. I like Kaz, but I think Daniels is the better out of the two. And obviously, even though he's older, I think even now there's more chance I've got of pushing Daniels into a main event scene than Frankie Kazarian. So I think it's almost natural for me to give the victory to Daniels. 57 rating, though, is pretty good stuff. What's up next? Next up, we've got a number one contenders match for the X Division title using two brand new superstars who are coming in. It's Paul London versus Homicide versus Billy Kidman. You may have noticed Billy Kidman, he's been a road agent in a couple of matches and he's apparently not very good at it. So we need to sort that one out. But this match is high action, it's a triple threat match. Reminiscent of the classic TNA X Division triple threats. Except obviously this one's in a squared circle, not six-sided. And it is Kidman who picks up the win, pinning his former tag team partner, Paul London, with a sit-out spinebuster after just over 13 minutes. London actually got the highest rating of the match, 56 compared to 50 for Kidman and a 43 for Homicide. We may end up running with Paul London and Billy Kidman as a tag team again. But you know what? I'm honestly pretty happy with just having them as single stars that can boost the X Division. 51 rating, though, is a pretty good start to the show so far. Bobby Lashley's being interviewed by Jeremy Borash about his six-man tag team match later, where he teams up with the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and he's asked basically how he feels about that tag team pairing. But he gets interrupted when Team 3D are shouting down the hall. Lashley is cut off and Borash runs down with the camera to find out what's happening, and it is Team 3D shouting at Hogan and Bischoff with Rick Victor alongside Hogan as to about why they're not on the pay-per-view. They are the most decorated tag team of all time. Why is there no respect for them in TNA anymore? What has happened? Ever since they've come in, Team 3D have felt disrespected, and they feel like they're not getting their fair dues for being the legends that they are. Hogan and Bischoff invite them into their office, which is where the camera obviously loses focus on them. But yes, we are starting dissension storylines within the ranks. And this won't be the only reference on this card. 72 though, great angle, probably really boosts Rick Victor, who, if he hadn't worked out, is a bit of a joke pet project of mine. But 72 is pretty darn good. And the the Knockouts tag team titles on the line as Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, the beautiful people, defend against the former champs, Taylor Wilde and Sarita. And it is the beautiful people pick up the win when Angelina Love pins Sarita with the makeover after Madison Rayne and Lacey Von Erich both attack, well, Taylor Wilde and Sarita. It's a decent tag team match for the women's division. 50 rated, 50 for Sarita, 51 for Angelina Love. That's probably the best match we could get out of these if we wanted to do that as a singles match, which we might. You know, Sarah Stock's great in the ring, so there's a reason she's a coach. She was a coach at the Performance Center for so long, and now she's a coach in AEW. There's a reason for that. But 50 rating is a great start. What's next on the card? Because at the moment, this pay-per-view has been pretty solid, if not amazing. And we cut backstage to a dressing room where Jeff Jarrett is sat with Ric Flair. But Jeff Jarrett's gear hung up. He's not performing on this show. And he's talking to Flair, and it's like, he's not happy anymore. He used to rule the roost in TNA. Now look at him. He can barely get on the show. Flair just walks over and slaps him. So says to him, Jeff, we were together in the dying days of a company. We let ourselves. You were the new guy. Trust me. They'll come calling back to you eventually. Basically implying that Jeff Jarrett was the reason WCW closed down, and TNA trying new people now will cause TNA to close down, so they'll go back to Jarrett eventually, so he will get his time. We are setting up these disgruntled people as heels. And Jeff Jarrett is one of those people who's going to be disgruntled. 66 rating though, decent promo. Honestly, I'd expect better from Flair and Jarrett. And in a match which most people probably wouldn't have thought could be a reality. Shinsuke Nakamura, the current reigning defending IWGP Heavyweight Champion, against Eric Young for the Global Championship. And it is Nakamura who picks up the victory just over 10 minutes, making Eric Young pass out to a triangle choke in a 60 rated match. It's our best main show match, I think, so far. Earl Hebner's ref was pretty good. Obviously, they're both technically heels, so the dynamics didn't work amazingly, but Nakamura is this big foreign star. Gets a 68, so much better than Young's 47, almost 20, over 20 points. Wow, maths is actually one of my strengths. I shouldn't be failing it like that. But a 60 overall is pretty decent. And we go afterwards to an angle which is gonna be a lot worse than it should be, because we're relying entirely on Jeremy Borash's skills as entertainment. Because I'm not, charisma on the part of Nakamura and Liger. And it is Shinsuke Nakamura holding both the IWGP Heavyweight, I think it is the V4 at this point, and the TNA Global on his two shoulders. And he's about to be interviewed by Jeremy Borash, and Jushin Thunder Liger comes out. And he just walks out to the ring, hops over the ropes, and just stares at both titles. Basically, Liger is setting himself up as a big challenger for both titles. He's never really had a shot at the heavyweight title because he's been a junior his entire career. But he's in TNA now, where there's no weight restrictions on titles. If he wants to go for the heavyweight title, he can in TNA. Anyone can go for it. They're not split over here. And obviously it gets 39, which it really shouldn't with this segment, but as I said, because of Liger and Nakamura not speaking English, we're kind of a bit reliant on that. Bit frustrating, if we're being honest. And here's the top of the Knockouts division. There's Awesome Kong. Defeats Tara in 13:05 with an Impact Buster. Kong is your new TNA Knockouts champion. Basically, we're setting up Kong as this dominant heel because we've got a much heavier weighted babyface Knockouts division with Amy Dumas, Candice Michelle, Molly Grenwald, Lisa Marie Varon, ODB. He's a babyface. We are very babyface orientated, so having the Awesome Kong as the big dominant heel champion, it allows us to tell a lot more different stories, so we're not forced to cycle the same people, because if it wasn't Awesome Kong, it would be the Beautiful People. That's pretty much it in terms of heels on our Knockouts division. I think Alyssa Flash as well, but she's not quite at the level to be Knockouts champion yet. Kong has been, I think this is her 4th Knockouts title reign, but 56 rating. Best women's match on the card so far, which I think is this is the last women's match on the card, so best women's match on the card. Great stuff. 56 rating, let's move on. And speaking of the people who'd be interested in the Knockouts title, Awesome Kong's first challenger, Amy Dumas. Comes out, cuts a little promo that she's tired of waiting. She's been here for a couple of months now. And she's pretty much been unstoppable. So it's time for her to get what she's owed. For her to get her dues. Amy Dumas wants the TNA Knockout title. And this is going to be our big program going, well, through March towards our next pay-per-view, Destination X. Which, yes, will have an Ultimate X match on it. Although it probably won't have the X Division champion challenging for the world title because, well, you'll see why later. But speaking of the X Division champion, here he is in a 6-man tag team match. The Amazing Red teams with Sting and Jeff Hardy to take on Bobby Lashley, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Gets a 63 rating, which is pretty good. Jeff is the highest performer in this match. Lashley's not far behind. I think that could be a fun little program to spin into over the spring. But it's the Amazing Red who picks up the victory with the red eye. It's basically a constant throw. It's one of those typical trios spots where Sting will probably hit the Scorpion Death Drop. Jeff Hardy will come in with a Swanton. Amazing Red will dive on with the red eye. Although I am now thinking of the logistics of putting them in that order. But either way, Red hits the last move, hits the red eye. Not the code red, because he's not going to hit that on Kevin Nash, let's be realistic here. Kevin Nash is not taking that bump. And it is the Amazing Red who picks up the victory, 63 rating, using these old guys, Nash and Hall, to get younger people over. And in a match which I think I maybe booked a little bit backwards due to the psychology, but because of the real life situation which happened in the game, there wasn't much more I could do. Beer Money defeated the Motor City Machine Guns in 11:56 by stoppage. Alex Shelley injured and can't continue. Because if you've noticed recently, Alex Shelley has been legitimately injured. And it has been negatively affecting the matches. So he's been selling this injury, working through it for the entire month pretty much. And now he's come to the title match and, yeah, we get a stoppage finish, even though technically he's cleared now. So that's why I think I may have booked this a little bit backwards. Also, they're the heels. But I think it's an interesting story. It's the Machine Guns probably could have won, but an injury basically forced the ref to stop it. And Sabin wasn't going to wrestle 1-on-2. Beer Money make their first defense of the TNA tag titles in this run. And essentially, this is padding out to basically get to a rematch, potentially in an Ultimate X match with the titles hung on the scaffold. We get a quick hype package explaining the feud between Desmond Wolfe and Kurt Angle, going back to their match from late 2009. 58 rating, pretty good stuff. And the match is a 68 rating. Best match we've had so far. And Kurt Angle wins in a dusty finish. when Desmond Wolfe, when Doug Williams, Rob Terry, and Brutus Magnus, being at ringside, one of them basically clocks Kurt Angle with the ring bell, whilst the referee is kind of down, kind of conscious. Another referee runs down from the back, counts the 3 count. Desmond Wolfe picks up the win with a roll up, but the referee, who was unconscious but was kind of saw it still, reverses the decision. Kurt Angle is awarded the victory by disqualification. They have great chemistry. I am absolutely going to run this match back. It's a 68 rating. I'm thinking of potentially with a stipulation to keep outside interference out, which, fortunately, if we can keep this story going at a hot enough level, we do have Lockdown in April. So that is only 2 pay-per-view cycles away. If we can keep this feud bubbling up at a fever pitch for that entire time, that's the perfect place to pay this off. It's a 68 rating, though. Great. It's the best match we've had so far. I'm hoping, though, that the main event outdoes it. And now we are here at time for the main event. We get a Samoa Joe vs AJ Styles hype package, replaying their feud in 2005 with Christopher Daniels involved as well. Replaying all of the times they feuded, including their match at the championship special. But now it's time for them to fight in full Metal Mayhem. And Samoa Joe picks up the victory, defeating AJ Styles in... Hold up. Pretend you didn't see that. A full Metal Mayhem match. Goes 26, almost 27 minutes. Great wrestling and good heat. Samoa Joe brings down that title, hung above the ring. And he is, once again, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. 76 rating. 74 for Joe, 72 for Styles. That is brilliant. I'm really happy with that, if I'm being honest. 76 is a great main event, but what does that mean for the overall show? Well, isn't that nice? It gets a 69, which increases our pop in 53 regions, which I think is everywhere in the world except for India, because we don't have any broadcasting over there yet. We're going to fix that eventually. Match of the night is that main event, which I'm delighted about. Second to that is Kurt Angle versus Desmond Wolfe, and the tag title match and the big 6-man tag. They are the 4 best matches, with the opener on the pre-show, the Fatal 4-Way Showcase match, being the same rating. That is good, because we built up that show to have, well, apart from the opener on the pre-show, which I did not expect, but we built up that show to get progressively better. Now, I think that's a perfectly booked show. No matter what the game rates, it's only 69. I think that is... Everything got better as it progressed. That's exactly what it should have done. And we've got a new world champion. He couldn't get it done in a singles match, which went almost 40 minutes. But in a match which went almost half an hour, Samoa Joe is your new world champion. And I suppose that's a perfect place to leave this. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.